This is Page Up with Dr. Angela Lauria, helping you write a nonfiction book that gets clients, drives revenue, and builds credibility. Learn more at pageuppodcast.com. Hey, welcome back to Page Up Podcast. This is actually episode 25 of our second season. I'm so excited you have been on this journey with us. And if you haven't listened to the whole season, now is the time to get your binge on. Make sure you subscribe and go back to episode 1. This is really a journey. It's a journey about what's working now. So much has changed in our world. Books have been with us for centuries. They will continue to be with us for centuries. But books are changing and authors are changing. You know, there was a time when books were written by scribes who copied books in rooms, monks that spent time in, monasteries copying books by hand. Books have existed before the printing press. Books went through in the 1600s, the revolution of the printing press. Books went through so many revolutions with the industrial age, with the rise of malls. If you've ever read The Theory of the Leisure Class by Thorstein Veblen, at the turn of the last century, the way books were sold, bought, and consumed changed dramatically 100 years ago. Then about 20 years ago, with the dawn of the internet, the book world started changing again. And now, today, in this current environment, we are seeing another revolution. And what this season has been about is what's happening now. How do you make money and make a difference with a book? That's still possible, and it will always be possible. But you have to look at what's happening and catch the trends. And right now there are some massive trends away from bookstore sales, trends away from traditional publishers whose businesses are really designed around the logistics of getting your book into bookstores. Trends that we see everywhere towards the disintermediation of content, having that guard at the gate between content creators, you, and content consumers, readers. There used to be a really significant gatekeeper element between the creators and the consumers. That, my friends, is crumbled. Crumbled. So what's happening now is you need to go directly to your readers. I call this the heart-to-heart, belly-to-belly connection with your readers. It is no longer authors somewhere over there on a stage far away, but now you are connecting directly. And yes, books are still selling, but how authors are making money from their books is with follow-on sales, products, services, branding. Whether it's fiction or nonfiction, the book is a portal to a connection with your audience. And for many of my authors, where that portal takes us is to a sales call. Bah. I know, who loves sales calls? Not many people, but I want to change your mind. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about why are sales calls so icky, so gross? How can we change that? And how can we make it fun, exciting, engaging, and no pressure to connect with your readers in a way that may or may not result in a sale? So if you've wondered how to have better sales calls or how to get over the anxiety of being that salesy person, when we come back, that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. I'll see you in a sec. Okay, you stayed with me. That means you are ready to talk about the hard things. Sales calls are essential to your business. Why? because you can't stay in business if you don't make money. And you're not going to make money if you don't talk to prospective buyers. Yes, there are ways to just have sales pages online and have anonymous people reach out to you. But if you're looking at sales points of $1,000 or higher, you're going to need to get on a call and actually talk to prospects about what they need and what you offer. So before we get into the specifics of how to do a sales call and how to make sure that call will be successful, I just want to talk about the mindset you need to have going into a sales call. And the first thing is, I never think about wanting anyone to buy. If you think about the sales calls that have been so icky in your life, maybe it was somebody calling your house to sell windows or siding, or maybe it was somebody pressuring you to join a multi-level marketing pyramid. What is so icky about that starts with this really simple fact: is somebody wants you to buy. So what's scary in your mind when you think about getting on the phone with a reader and asking them to buy something from you is that they will think you only care about their money. They will think that you're just in it to make a buck. And that's kind of damaging to our identity. It's damaging to our integrity. And it's just a terrible way to feel. So the way I like to approach sales is to think of those calls as an opportunity for me to get to know a human on the planet, which is a nice thing to do, particularly a human who read my book or connected with me in some other way, and to find out one simple thing, which is, do they want help and can I help them? I guess that's two simple things, but first I have to find out, do they want help? And next I want to find out, can I help them? Do they want me to help them? So put away money for a second. Think about money as kind of a magical made up currency that we all use when something is important to us, right? Just stop thinking about money and approach that call to say, all things being equal, if money was off the table, does this person actually have a problem they want to solve? Ask the questions to find that out, because there's nothing to talk about if that's not the case. And then, could I solve that problem? Honestly, could you solve it? And then, does this person want me to solve it? No pressure, no asking for a sale, no hoping a sale will close, just an honest connection of, could I help someone? So when you think about that, when there's not a sale involved, let's say, I don't know, somebody has a car accident, you were a couple car lengths behind, you're going to pull over to the side of the road and you'll go up to the driver and you'll say, hey, are you okay? Can I help? You're literally finding out, does this person have a problem? Can I help them? And do they want my help? If that person says to you, no, I'm fine, it's okay, I called the police, you might even follow up with them and say, do you want me to wait with you till the police come? That looked scary. And then at that point, if they're like, no, my sister's coming, she'll be here in a minute, then you'll probably just leave. And maybe you'll stay in your car for a couple minutes and make sure the police come or her sister comes for your own sense of mind. But you're not going to beat the girl up into taking your help, right? And there's no money involved there, because you weren't going to say, hey, if I stay, I'll charge you money. But this first part of the interaction with sales, if you can go on to the call and say, all I'm going to do is see if I can help, that is going to make your mindset around it so different. Now, I want to talk about money. I want to talk about money in 1 second, but I want you to get this first half of the conversation really just needs to be about the urgency and the need. And is there a fit? Now, when it comes to money, I said earlier, I want you to pretend that money is made up and it's just an energy exchange that we use to mark what's important to us. Well, I want you to pretend that because it's true. I just finished reading Jacob Goldstein's new book, Money. It's like The Curious Tale of a Made Up Thing or something is the subtitle. And it gives the history of how money is made up. I love reading about the history of money. It's one of my favorite topics because money is really just a made up thing. It's a concept that we agree is real in order for us to assign priorities in our life. So we all have a certain amount of money and we all use it, but no matter what we think we do, we use it based on our priorities. So if you can imagine having a spouse, I'll call it a wife, who is a gambling addict, and your wife might tell you the most important thing to her is your marriage and your family, but she's spending $10,000 a week on gambling. We know the most important thing to her is gambling. Well, no matter how much money you have, whether you have $100 a week, $1,000 a week, or $1 million a week, you will always spend your money on the things that are important to you. A lot of people will tell me, yes, but I just don't have any money. Well, most heroin addicts don't have any money either, and they find a way to get it, and then what do they spend it on? Not college. So money is always there. And if the person you're talking to has a problem that's important enough to them, and they believe you have the solution to that problem, they will make a way. They will find a way to get the money or spend the money. Just like a heroin addict, heroin is important to them, so they find the way to spend the money on that. And you've probably seen that in your life. There have been times where you felt like you had no money, and then suddenly your car breaks down and you have to pay for a rental car for a month or lose your job, and you find the money. You borrow it, you use a credit card, you somehow figure it out because it's important. So I only want you to make an offer, and in fact, I would only make an offer to somebody who asks for it, to someone who really wants and needs the problem that you can solve solved. So that's the two-part process for your mindset approaching a sales call. Part one is we're just going to have a conversation and see if it's a fit, putting money aside. Part two is when we get to talk about money, we're going to remember that everyone has money for the things that are important to them in that moment. Out of all the money they have, they will spend money on the things that are most important to them. And if you're not the most important thing to them, why would you want to change that? Bless their decisions. Whatever they are deciding is the most important thing to do with their money is none of your business. Let them come to you. I wrote a book called Make 'em Beg to Be Your Client. Let them come to you and say, hey, of all the money I have, I would love to spend some of it on you because I believe you can help me solve this problem. When we come back, I'm going to talk about what to do during a call that will make it successful. And if it isn't successful, what the reason is and how or if you should change it. I'll see you in a sec. Okay, my sales Jedis. Now we're getting to where the rubber meets the road. There is a point on the call where you found out there is a fit. The person has the problem. They want to solve it. You have the answer. You would like to help them solve it. We need all these components in place before we even talk about working together. So the number one thing you can do to make a sales call successful is don't talk about your product, the offer, the price, or anything until you make sure there's a fit. They have the problem, they want to solve it, you know how to solve it, and you want to help this person solve it. No talking about how, specifics, or money until we've established that. That is the number one thing you can do on a sales call to make it successful. But when we get to that point that we know there's a fit, you really want your prospect to ask you how you would solve it. So instead of telling them, let me tell you about my product, you want to instead say to them, I have some ideas. Would you want to hear them? You want them to ask you for the offer. This completely changes the dynamic between you and a person who is in many ways your equal, but needs help with this one issue. Now, if they don't ask you for an offer, we call that non-buyer behavior. Or if they ask you for the offer and then as soon as they hear it, they say, I need time to think about it. I got to ask my husband. This, sounds really great. I'm all in, but then they don't give you their credit card number and sign up. All of those are non-buyer behaviors. And there are 3 honest reasons that people go into non-buyer behavior. But unfortunately, these 3 reasons your prospect won't share with you. So your mission is going to be to identify which of these is the real reason, and then decide if you want to confront your prospect with the truth. So they're saying the reason is they're busy, they have to check with their husband, they are got to finish their website first, whatever they're going to say the reason is. These 3 things I'm about to share are the real reason that they have moved into non-buyer behavior asking for an offer. So step 1 is to identify which of these 3 things it is. And then step 2 is going to be to decide whether or not you want to confront them on these 3 things. So let's go into it. Make sure you have a pen or your phone where you can take notes. These are really important to understand, and you'll want to go back and check them in the future, especially right after a sales call. If it doesn't close, you'll want to see if you can identify which of these 3 reasons was the reason they didn't buy. Number 1, and the most common reason people don't buy is they don't want to solve the problem. They don't really want the result that comes from having the problem. So if you think about, earlier I mentioned the gambling wife. Now her priority is gambling. She says her priority is her family. She's got this problem, which is gambling addiction. But solving that problem means she has to stop gambling. And the gambling has probably been covering some emotion she didn't want to deal with. Some past trauma, maybe she doesn't still want to be married. There's some pain that the gambling is buffering her from. So by not solving her addiction problem, she's able to keep that relationship. She's able to keep her job. She's able to keep her home, all stuff that might blow up if she solved that problem. Now, no one's going to say to you, I don't want to stop gambling. They're going to say, I'm all in. I definitely want to stop. I gotta organize my finances. I gotta move some money around. I want to make sure I use the right account. All of those non-buyer behaviors are really a way of saying, I don't want the result of solving this problem. yet. And we all have lots of people in our lives who have a problem that they've had for years or decades, and they actually just want to keep it. I'm thinking about that movie When Harry Met Sally, and the best friend is talking about she's been having an affair forever, and she's talking to Meg Ryan, and she's like, he's never going to leave her. He's never going to leave her. And Meg Ryan looks at her and she's like, he's never going to leave her. Like, you've been doing this for a long time. She could solve the problem, but it would mean breaking up with this married man, right? And so she doesn't want the result of solving the problem. And being honest about that is difficult to impossible for most people. So the number one most common reason people won't buy from you is they don't want the result that would come from buying with you. Do you want to let them keep that? That's going to be your decision if that's the reason. Now, number two, and I do see this one quite a bit, so I would say this is maybe 20 to 25% of the time. The reason they don't buy from you is they don't believe you can get them the result. Now, there are a couple reasons this one comes up, but the number one reason people don't buy from you because they don't think you can get them the result is you trying to convince them. So if you describe your program, if you pitch them, if you give them the price before you've confirmed there is a fit, you will actually be pushing the person away from you. You can think of this like being a 39-year-old in a bar, meeting a 39-year-old woman in a bar, meeting a cute guy, having a connection, and immediately saying, I really want kids before I turn 40. It's really not attractive. One step at a time. So if you are pushing or grabby or hoping the sale closes, if you spend more time talking to them about your program than listening to them about their problem, this will be the result. And you know it's the result, by the way, when you see they hire someone else to get them the result. So convincing, cajoling, trying to prove yourself or trying to get the sale will all be reasons the sale doesn't close. So ask yourself, is there a reason why your prospect might believe that you cannot get them the result? Now, again, they're not going to say to you, hey, I'm not buying because I just don't believe you can get me the result. They're not going to say that. They're going to say, I got to ask my husband. I need to move money around. I need to organize my schedule, free up some time. But what they're saying is, I don't feel comfortable investing with you. And that's good feedback to have, right? That's a stage you need to go through. And number three, this is the rarest, but it's the hardest one to overcome. I would say this is maybe 5% of the time, is that they don't believe in themselves to get the solution. Now, very often this is because of a low price point. So if you think about it, we can easily drop $100 taking our family to the movies. If you've got a family of 4 and you go to the movies and you get some popcorn, $100, poof. And so if you have a product or a program that promises a result, but for a little bit of money, like let's say $100, your prospect may just not believe they'll do the work. They'll be thinking, this is just going to be a waste of money because I'm not going to do it. This is the hardest objection to overcome. And what I would say the best way to overcome, I work with my clients on this closely, but the best way to overcome this one is by coaching them, but really It's something I call the unsell. It's when you use their words back to them and say, hey, part of you believed this was possible or you wouldn't have gotten on the call. Part of you wants this, and really talking to that part of them. Not indulging, or I call it holding space for failure. Because what they are doing is deciding in advance they're going to fail, and that increases their ability, or it increases the frequency with which they fail. So this one, other than raising the price, this is a sophisticated objection to get over. Luckily, it is the rarest, and again, people won't say, I don't believe in myself. So those are the 3 reasons at the end of a call you identify. Is it that they didn't want the result? Is it that they didn't believe you could get them the result? Or is it that they didn't believe in themselves to get the result? You must, while you're on that call, identify which of these is the real reason. Then you have a choice. Will you confront the person with the real reason or not? And whether or not to do that is a really simple decision. Do you want to help this person? Do they seem like they're going to be a pain in the ass, or do they seem like someone you can really help? So sometimes for me, I will end the call and say, it sounds like you are in a place where you don't want to solve this problem right now. I totally respect that. You know where to find me if you do. And sometimes I will push the person further and say, you got on the call because you wanted to solve this problem. What is your plan to solve the problem? If it's not me, tell me the better plan. You have to remember that your commitment to turning readers into revenue, it's not about money. It's about making a difference. And if your reader doesn't say, solving this problem is my priority, your book is very unlikely to make the difference it was meant to make. In this environment, we are seeing a huge shift from generic to online, specific, high-touch learning. And you can be a part of that trend by stepping into your excellence, by stepping into your commitment to serve, and by stepping into your God job, your ministry. Your book idea came to you because you are here to help others with that problem. Now is the time to step up and help others. And your story that you're afraid of sales calls or sounding salesy is not sufficient anymore. The world needs you, and you can get over your feelings about sales being icky by not doing anything icky on your sales calls. And that is how we change the world, one book at a time. If you're ready to build your business with a book, take my free class at pageuppodcast.com.